Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we have our TCSL Sunday meditation live from Sophie's Bar and Grill. So I invite you to get comfortable, whether you're laying down or sitting in your chair, comfortable in your living room, wherever you find yourself. And just take a moment to take some deep breaths, to let go of the mental preparedness of holidays coming or to-do lists, to just be right here, right now. I'm going to read today from Tilling the Soul by Wingate, and the reading today is about flowing acceptance. So I'm going to start with an example and then go back to the flowing acceptance following my example. So I invite you to close your outer eyes and listen from your divine space through your human ears, but try to allow this to touch the divine within you. My first experience with flowing acceptance happened early one winter morning. I was getting ready to take a shower and wondering how I was going to make it through the horrendous day I had looming ahead of me, feeling the way I did, when a little voice asked me if I could handle taking a shower, feeling the way I did, and suggesting that sufficient unto the moment was the good thereof. It startled me because I wasn't used to hearing little voices. But it also seemed like a reasonable suggestion, so I took my shower and found myself no longer thinking about what was ahead of me, but just enjoying my shower and feeling better moment by moment. That is how I went through what turned out to be one of the truly memorable days of my life, one flowing, accepting step after another. So as the buds of soul consciousness that have been lying dormant are further quickened by the warmth and light of soul fire, there is flowing acceptance. It is the centerpiece of our cosmic seed catalog, and with its realization, there is an entirely new and exciting way of experiencing. With genuine acceptance, we feel an abiding happiness that wells up from deep within us and has nothing to do with what happens to us. We are no longer happy because or unhappy because. We are just happy, period. We feel a love that passeth all understanding, and like our newfound happiness, it too wells up from within us. It is unconditional love, and it has nothing to do with what someone else is or isn't, or does or doesn't. We understand the meaning and purpose of our life. Even more important, we understand that our life has meaning and purpose. With flowing acceptance, I certainly feel a happiness that I never felt before. I realize that what I have is enough, that it is all I need to have here and now to take the next step on my path. I realize that what I am is enough, that is just the way I need to be here and now to take that next step. And I realize that life is not a fight to test me, but an experience to teach me, and that I am constantly being provided with just what I need for my growth. So I'm happier here with what I have. I'm happier now with what I am, and I'm happier with my life and where I'm going on the journey. Before flowing acceptance, there was no real happiness. No matter how hard I worked to have more so that I could be happy with what I had, I never had quite enough. More this, more that, or a different this, or a different that. There always seemed to be the need for something more or something different. And no matter how hard I worked to become more so that I could be happy with what I was, I could never be quite enough. Before flowing acceptance, there was no real love either. No matter how hard I tried to be really loving, I just couldn't love in the way I wanted to love. There were always those warts of imperfection on other people's noses. Worst of all, they were also the warts on my own nose, and on my work, and on everything around me. But now, through flowing acceptance, I realize that perfection is not the way things should be, but the way things actually are. That perfection is never finished, never complete, always growing, like a perfect seed growing into a perfect flower. Like Omega, Divine Spirit is growing, not from imperfection to perfection, but from perfection to perfection to perfection. And I realize that everyone and everything are part of this perfection, that the universe is part of it, the world is part of it, the warts are part of it. I am part of it. I am just the way I'm supposed to be, just the way Omega Spirit wants me to be, in me and as me. By accepting this, I can accept myself. And by accepting myself, I can love myself as well. My neighbors are part of it. By accepting this, I can accept my neighbors and love my neighbors also, which is not the same thing as liking them or wanting to be with them, just love. With flowing acceptance, I realize that there is only good, there is only God, there's only Omega, and that bad is how I see those experiences whose part in my growth I do not yet understand. By accepting this, I can accept my life and all it brings me and love my life as well. We are each of us a soul, a mind, a consciousness, a body of glowing incandescent light. We are both male and female, complete and whole within ourselves. Yet we are also joined in the most deeply intimate communion with every other soul in the cosmos. Omega, the one soul, one mind, one consciousness, became the many and is now becoming the one again. We are becoming the one again. Spirit is perfect, and we are part of its perfection. We are just the way we need to be, just the way Spirit needs us to be, in us and as us, to make the next step on our path. We have just what we need to have, just what Spirit needs us to have to take that step. And life is constantly providing us with just what we need to experience, just what Spirit needs to experience through us along the way. There is only good, there is only Omega. Bad is how we see those experiences whose part in our growth we just don't understand yet. It is all part of the plan, and we are partners in its unfolding. So as we gently bring ourselves, our awareness back into our physical bodies, I invite you to spend the next week holding in consciousness the idea of flowing acceptance, with gatherings, family gatherings coming up, and holidays, and togetherness, knowing that life is unfolding exactly as it's meant to unfold. And we can let go of the label of this is good and that is bad. Just being aware that life is just unfolding. And we allow the acceptance of it to unfold just as it does. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our meditation. We look forward to seeing you at 10:45 for our morning service. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. I just woke up a couple people in the room here. So glad you've joined us on this beautiful, crisp fall day. As I'm standing out here, I wish you could see the view that I can see. There's just a bank of trees along the parking lot that are just beautiful, all reds and greens and yellows and browns, and looking absolutely gorgeous as it does in this beautiful state during this time of the year. So glad that you have joined us. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Dusty Rippelmeyer, and I have the pleasure and the honor of being the spiritual director of this amazing community. And we are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. And at Centers for Spiritual Living, we believe that there is one power and presence, and it goes by many different names, many ministers, many practitioners, many congregants. Some will call it God, some call it First Cause. That was always Ernest Holmes' favorite one in the beginning. Some call it love, some call it nature, some really call it nothing at all. But by whatever name we call it, it is the very presence of love and joy and peace and wisdom and creativity and abundance. And we believe that we are connected to it, that we were created by it in its image and likeness. And so we too are that love, that joy, that peace, that creativity, that abundance, that freedom, all things that God is, we are. And wherever we are, God is in its fullness and in its wholeness. So that's a really, really good news. That's the good news, right? I'm really happy to know that truth. And we also believe that since God is creative, that we too are creative, and that we actually do create the experiences of our lives. Again, could be the good news or the not so good news, but I think it's good news because if I'm not particularly liking the experience of life that I'm having right now, I can change it. Change your thinking, change your life. Probably seen that on a bumper sticker or two, driving around. But it is true, and it is one of the truths that we hold to be absolutely true in this teaching. So we're very glad that you've chosen to join us because we love being supported on our spiritual path. We do it for each other, and we will do it for you. So come and visit us here at Sophie's Grill and Bar and experience it live rather than just on StreamYard. That would be really amazing to have you here. I'd like to just announce that in the month of December, there are 5 Wednesdays. And over the course of those 5 Wednesdays, we are going to be celebrating, we believe in there's many paths to God, and we'll have a ritual later in which we celebrate that. So we want to celebrate some of the December festivals and celebrations that are held by different faith traditions around the world. So the first Wednesday evening, we will be celebrating Hanukkah. The second, Bodhi Day. The third, Pancha Ganapati, which is a Hindu festival. The fourth will be the winter solstice, and the fifth will be Kwanzaa. So we will be doing them on Zoom. There will be some elements of music, some elements of ritual, some elements of candle lighting and sharing and contemplation and meditation. So please come and join us for that. It will really be an experience. We're trying to create an experience that you'll even be able to have even though you're sitting in your own living room. So please come and join us for that. 7 o'clock on Zoom. The links are the same as the Wednesdays, and they always go out in our Wednesday news, Constant Contact newsletter, so you can find the links there. So please consider joining us for that. I would love to thank the lovely Michelle Love, one of our licensed spiritual practitioners, for her beautiful meditation that really set the stage and expanded the consciousness that our service will unfold within. So thank you so very much, Michelle. And speaking of Michelle, I'd love to invite her back up to the podium, so please welcome her along with me.
Thank you, Dusty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the comfort of Sophie's or the comfort of your home this morning. Our theme for the month of November is Breathe in the View. And Reverend Dusty's talk title today is Celebrate the Triumphant Journey. I'm now going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives into being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God, and so it is. So I now invite you to close your outer eyes and just take a moment to find that divine center within each and every one of us, to take a breath, to fully arrive, to let every moment prior to this moment go and be right here, right now. Open your heart and mind and allow the healing sounds of the crystal bowls to simply wash over you.
I invite everyone now to start bringing your attention back into your body and into the room. And I'd also like to invite Susan and Ed Krupa up to the front of the room to help me with this ceremony. Good morning, you guys. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere, with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thanks, you guys. Now I'd like to invite you all to close your eyes one more time. And I recognize in this moment the magnificence of the peace of the one life, the one love, the infinite mind that is in, as, and through each of us. And from that place of reverence, I speak a blessing on our service today, knowing that this is the right and perfect service for each and every one of you, that there is a nugget of truth, value, love, something that gifts you today with exactly what you need. And I speak a blessing on the volunteers, the people who came here to set up the room, the people who did the AV, the practitioners, our musical inspiration, Karen Daly, and last but certainly not least, our beloved Reverend Dusty, who always inspires us and brings absolute love and joy of the one Most High to our services. And so I'm grateful to know that this is the truth of our morning together, and so it is. And today the reading is from Antonio Brown. He says, "The journey is never ending. There's always going to be growth, improvement, adversity. You've just got to take it all in and do what's right. Continue to grow and continue to live in the moment." And so it is. And now I'd like to introduce the most delightful and magnificent, beautiful, wonderful Karen Daly.
Thank you, Babs. Hi, everybody. Good to see your faces. Good to see your faces. I didn't even see you coming, Stacey. So in the month of November, this topic was a little hard for me to find a specific song for, so I just kind of went with the whole gratitude thing. And this is a song by Keith Urban called Thank You. There were nights when I was sure I wouldn't see the morning sun, and there were days it seemed so dark. I couldn't wait for night to come. I couldn't stand to think about how my life it used to be, and how without a single warning it all slipped away from me. And I found myself in places I thought I'd never go, surrounded by strangers. I was so far from my home, and I don't know how you found me. All I know is I owe everything to you. And I thank you for my heart, and I thank you for my life. Yes, I thank God for grace and People say they'll stand beside you. They swear they'll never leave. But when the rain started falling, seems like it only fell on me. It was hard to keep believing in myself when all I felt was so much pain and guilt and shame. Couldn't even ask for help. And I don't know if I believe in other lives, but when you came, well, there was something so familiar in the way you called my name. And the whole world started turning, and I swear that I was born again. And I thank you for my heart, and I thank you for my life. Yes, I thank God for grace and mercy, and for standing by my side. And I'm seeing for the first time the stars, the sun, the moon, but they got nothing on the power of this love I get from you. And I'm grateful. And I've seen so many things that I just can't explain. But the miracle of miracles is how with your love I was saved. And I thank you for my heart, and I thank you for my life. Yes, I thank God for grace and mercy, and for standing by my side. And I'm seeing for the first time the stars, the sun, the moon, but they've got nothing on the power of this love I get from you. And I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you. God, thank you.
Your songs today of gratitude, and the message next week of gratitude is sandwiching my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving Day. The day when, we are encouraged to be grateful, but I think we should just be grateful every day, every moment of every day, and see what that does for our lives and for the lives of those people around us. I, too, had a little bit of, celebrating the the triumphant journey, celebrating the triumphant journey. So I'll start the way I always start, the way Andy starts, the way many of us start, and that's by going to the source, right? Wikipedia. So Wikipedia defines triumph as having won a battle or a contest, as in being victorious. It's experiencing or having achieved a really significant or noteworthy success and really exalting in it. I like that word, exalting in that noteworthy success. It's a victory that brings up joy or jubilation or perhaps pride within us. Wikipedia then also describes journey as an act of traveling from one place to another. But it could also be a process of changing or of developing over time. It's any course or passage from one stage or experience into another stage or experience. Now, in that definition, it's more about the evolution that is happening. It's more about the becoming that is occurring rather than arriving at any particular place or destination. Michelle Obama, in her book Becoming, says, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. So in this journey, the journeys that I'm talking about today, there's no final destination. It's really just a new way of being in the world. A new way of being that adds to rather than detracts from our lives or from the lives of those around us. So today I was called to talk about 3 such triumphant journeys. The first is our journey back home. Our journey back to our awareness of who and whose we are. Number 2, the journey from our head to our heart, our return back to love itself. And number 3, the journey into the present moment, letting go of regrets about the past and worries about the future. So let's begin with our journey back home, that journey back to our awareness of who and whose we are. This journey most often begins when our inner wisdom or our divine discontent, that small voice within us, calls us to a new way of relating with God, a new way of relating with each other, a new way of relating with the world in general, a way of relating to God, to others, and to the world that has at its core the belief that God is all that there is. A way of relating to God, to others, and to the world that believes that everything that we can see and everything that we cannot see all came from God in the beginning, and all will return back home, back to God in the end. The triumphant journey is remembering this spiritual truth. The truth that we are one with God, united through the only substance that there is, to the one that created everything in the first place. And through that golden thread, not only connected to God, not only connected to life, but connected to one another in ways that really can never, ever be broken. It might look to our human perception like they're broken all over the place, but they cannot be broken. The journey begins when our inner wisdom, our divine discontent, or that still small voice within us, calls us into a new way of living. A new way of living in which we acknowledge the divinity that is within us and surrounding us. A way of living that places faith on our relationship with it and knowing that right where we are, God is. That it is a power within us that we can use, as Ernest Holmes tells us time and time again. A benevolent and loving presence that we can count on, that is always for us and never against us, that works with mechanical regularity to support us, to guide us, to guard us, to create alongside of us, to co-create alongside of us. The moment that has the greatest effect on us is that moment when we acknowledge God's active presence in our lives. I can remember that moment in my own life. I can remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly how it felt. It was scary. It was really kind of scary because I didn't come from a background of going to church. I had no relationship with God. And so that moment from me changed everything. Now, it didn't change everything right away. It took a few years to get it together. I'm still working on it most of the time. But it's really a matter of inviting that moment in. It's a matter of getting in touch with the power and the presence and the grace-filled reality that is always available to us. It's all around us. It's within us. It surrounds us. It's everywhere at all times. Deepak Chopra, in his books, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, says, "We are divinity in disguise. And the gods and goddesses in embryo that are contained within us seek to be fully materialized. True success is therefore the unfolding of divinity. It is the perception of divinity in whatever we perceive. The eyes of a child, the beauty of a flower, and the flight of a bird. When we begin to experience our life as the miraculous expression of the divine, not occasionally, but all of the time, then we will know the true meaning of success." This journey is really a journey towards our center, the center of our being, toward the innermost ground of our being, where we meet and are met by God. It's not something that will change our lives in the short term, but rather it is something that will change our innermost way of seeing, our innermost way of hearing, our innermost way of thinking, our innermost way of believing. And from there, from that space, from that deep and abiding connection, the externals of our lives, the world of form, will simply rearrange. It will change. It will evolve. It will grow. The realm of God is right here, right now. I kept trying to find when we were getting ready for our Wednesdays this last month, it's called an evening with Ernest Holmes. And so we were finding like really fun little tidbit stories. And I saw one as I was looking for something else, and I didn't mark it adequately enough, which is highly unusual for me because I have tabs. I'm the tabs queen. I have tabs in all of my books. After I've read them numerous times and I have all those tabs, I don't really know what the tabs are for, so I have to look through them all again anyway, but they're there. But I didn't put a tab in this one, and what it was it talked about, it was talking about how, Ernest's ability to preach and to share, his wisdom. And sometimes he would just be taken over, and there was this one talk that everybody said was perhaps one of his most amazing talks. And he was talking, and then all of a sudden he stopped. And he didn't say anything for many seconds. And then all of a sudden he just said, "It's here. It's here. It's here. Everybody, it's here. We just have to let it in." The possibility of freedom, of peace, and of joy, really feeling that all of the time, is here. It is our unity, our relationship with God that sets us free in the midst of our human experience. And being in the midst of that human experience, really knowing to our core, our home, and having returned back to it, having made that triumphant journey back home, we will see a whole new world. A whole new world. And it's already here through that triumphant journey. The second triumphant journey that I want to talk about is the journey from our head to our hearts. A return back to love. Right? What would love do? Now, we usually come into the world lovingly connected to our hearts, right? That innocent child. However, the world that we grow up in is often viewed as a confusing and frightening world. Because of that, many people are frightened and confused and believe that we live in a world that's not safe. Frightened and confused people pass on frightening and confusing thoughts and beliefs. As we grew up in this world, we take on these thoughts and beliefs. And what we did is that we came to believe the idea that living in our heads, being in our heads, was the safest place to be. And so we just kept living there. We kept living there in order to remain safe and secure from a difficult and dangerous and unkind world. But doing this actually only makes us suffer more. As we continue to use our heads to try and think our way out of the uncomfortable situations or the uncomfortable challenges that we find ourselves in, we really set ourselves up to suffer more. Einstein said you cannot solve a problem at the level of the problem. So if we were to really think about it, you knew I'd take you there. If we were to really think about it, it's often our stinking thinking that got us here. Our stinking thinking that got us here. So if what Einstein says is true, and I believe that it is, then it cannot be our stinking thinking that we try to use to get us out of these uncomfortable places that we're finding ourselves in, to get us out of a threatening or confusing world. Something different has to happen. It is said that fearful thoughts keep us disconnected from our wise and powerful hearts, leaving us feeling disempowered and fragile. When thought about repeatedly, fearful thoughts carry a very powerful energy, an energy that is oftentimes more powerful and is able to override our heart's energy. We have control over our thoughts. We need to stop thinking those fearful thoughts. But the problem is, if we were to, again, really think about it, we would realize that we're always in our heads, right? I mean, you can't sit there and tell me you can't hear that little voice that's talking to you. So we're always in our heads, and we're always thinking, and we're always judging everything. It's all we know. It's all we know, and so no wonder it feels kind of safe. You know, what we know feels more safe than what we don't know. Ooh, I don't want to drop down into my heart. That's scary. I don't know how to do that. I'd be too vulnerable. However, there will come a time. There will come a time when we must realize that we're not living or experiencing life to its fullest from our heads. We're just not. Instead, what we are doing is we're experiencing life through our thoughts about life. Can you get that? We're experiencing life through our thoughts about life. One way to get back into the game is to take that journey from our heads to our hearts. And it is said that it's one of the most important journeys that we will ever make in our lives. I thought Italy was, but this is way more important. When we're in our heart, we are in an awakened state where we feel expanded and full of joy. When we are in our heart, we recognize that our heart doesn't have to try so hard. It just knows things intuitively. And if we were to quiet our minds enough, we could hear that wisdom. When we're in our heart, we radiate positive energy and we're fully present to what's happening in our lives. Not just thinking about it, but fully present. When we're in our heart, we create a sense of oneness. There is no division within us nor any division between us. It's impossible to hurt others when we feel so connected to them that it would feel like we were hurting ourselves. A world founded on heart energy actually transcends violence. It transcends war. It transcends fear. And what comes in to that void, what takes its place, is grace, peace, and harmony. Sounds like a lot more fun to experience. It's a way of cooperating rather than competing, a way of giving rather than getting, a way of faith rather than knowledge. It's a way of relationship rather than anonymity, and a way of love rather than animosity. Love smooths out the really rough spots and makes the crooked spaces straight. There's a story about a woman who comes out of her house one afternoon, and she sees 3 old men with long white beards sitting in the front of her yard, and she doesn't recognize them. So she comes up to them and she said, I don't think I know you, but you must be hungry, so why don't you come on in and have something to eat? Is the man of the house home? They asked. Different time, different culture. Is the man of the house home? They asked. No, she said, he's out. Then we cannot come in, they replied. In the evening, when her husband came home, she told him what had happened. Go out and tell them I am home and invite them in, he said. The woman went out and invited the men in. We do not go into a home together, they said. Why is that, she asked. One of the men explained, his name is wealth, and his name is success, and I am love. Please go in and discuss with your husband which one of us you want in your home. The woman went in and she told her husband what had been said. Her husband was overjoyed. How nice, he said. Since that is the case, let us invite wealth. Let him come in and fill our house with riches and wealth. His wife disagreed. My dear, why don't we invite in success? Now their daughter-in-law, who had been listening to the conversation from another part of the room, piped in, and she said, wouldn't it be better to invite in love? Our home will then be filled with love. And the man thought, well, let us heed our daughter-in-law's advice. He said to his wife, go out and invite love to be our guest. So the woman went out and asked the 3 old men, which one of you is love? Please come in and be our guest. And so love stood up and began to walk towards the house. The other 2 also got up and followed love. Surprised, the lady asked wealth and success, I only invited in love. Why are you 2 coming in? The old men replied together, if you had invited wealth or success, the other 2 of us would have stayed out. But since you invited in love, wherever he goes, we go with him. Wherever there is love, there is also wealth and success. And I may add joy and peace, creativity, grace, freedom. So the invitation is to take the journey from your head to the heart. Invite love into your lives, and the rest will simply take care of itself. The bottom line is that the heart is where love lives. We have to take that journey from our head down into our heart. It's where we naturally lived when we first arrived on the planet, before the fear set in. In that place, we feel like anything and everything is possible, and if that's not a triumphant journey, I don't know what is. The third triumphant journey is our journey into present moment awareness. Now, when our lives become dictated by thoughts and emotions that are attached to past events or to potential future outcomes, it becomes really exceedingly rare that we are able to live in the present moment. The bottom line is that the moment that we are experiencing right now is the only moment that we can have any control. We cannot control what happened in the past. We cannot control what will happen in a year's time, let alone what will happen 5 minutes from now. Life unfolds in moments, so the best way to be able to handle the moments that come our way is to welcome them in moment by moment. To welcome them in. Constantly trying to solve our entire life in one instance brings on unnecessary anxiety. And it only distracts us from the issues at hand. No one can deal with the past or the future because they only exist in our thoughts. So it is more beneficial for us to focus our time and our energy on each moment as it comes, on what is happening in the here and now. Only in the present moment can we let go of guilt or judgment or worrying. By staying in the present moment, we recognize that each moment that we feel guilty, each moment that we are judging, each moment where we are worried is another moment that we've lost, that has simply slipped away without us being present. And not only that, but the truth is that it's a moment that's actually spent in if we're spending it in judging or worrying or feeling guilty, then we're actually inviting in more to feel guilty or judgmental or to worry about. Because what we think about again and again and again, we manifest into our lives, right? If we can accept where we are and not judge the challenges in our lives as wrong or bad, we can experience freedom. We can experience peace. We can experience boundless joy. This is because fighting what is doesn't actually work. As the saying goes, whatever we resist persists. We could say that the measure of our accomplishment or our success is not that our journey has no ups and downs, but how well we were able to surf the waves. Only in the present moment can we let go of what we think our life should be, of how it should unfold. And we all have those thoughts. I know, I do. Should have been, could have been, should have been. Only in the present moment can we stop waiting for something better to come along, for a better relationship or a better job or better health. With no expectations of the future, we will not be disappointed by anything that happens. We will welcome it all in. This attitude of acceptance, right, of acceptance, is freeing when we apply it not only to our individual lives, but also to the collective lives of all sentient beings on the planet. Cynthia Bourgeot, a core faculty member at the Center for Action and Contemplation, tells a story about when she was a young nun. She says, once when I was practicing a classic Plum Village is Thich Nhat Hanh's retreat center in France, I believe. Once when I was practicing a classic Plum Village guided meditation, I came to the final part of the exercise. And in that final part of the exercise, they were to breathe in and say, I dwell in the present moment. And then to breathe out and say, I know this is a wonderful moment. Breathe in. I dwell in the present moment. Breathe out. I know this is a wonderful moment. She says, suddenly I felt myself stuck when I did this practice. questioning how could we truly affirm it was a wonderful moment when all the violence, hatred, inequality, and preventable tragedies that are happening in the present moment all over the world. I'm sure we've all felt that a time or two. How can you say this is a perfect moment when all of that is going on? So she sat in the question of it. And she began to see that along with all of the suffering and pain, there were also many beings that are supporting others in the present moment. That there are many hearts of compassion opening to relieve suffering, to care for others, to teach, to show a different way. There are people who are courageous and standing up for what they believe is right, protecting our oceans, cleaning rivers and beaches, advocating for those that are oppressed. There are those in every corner of the planet who are quietly doing the things that no one else wants to do, caring for the forgotten people, places, species, and doing what needs to be done. And so what came to her out of that meditation was that when she focused on the other parts of the larger picture, that bigger picture, remember we talked about the view from a higher realm, I was able to touch that. Yes? Of our regrets about the past and our worries about the future. What I know about these journeys is that as powerful as they are, each and every single one of them on their own, they are more powerful when taken together. They are more powerful when we take them with each other, getting support and encouragement along the way. When we take them together, they come together as a triumphant journey of consciousness, a journey that has no destination, but evolution and becoming, a journey of consciousness, a journey that really must be taken for each and every single one of us to live our highest and best life, one that is absolutely worthy of celebration. And so it is. So it is. So I just invite us to turn within, to allow ourselves to close our outer eyes, to turn our attention inward to that core. To the ground of our being, that spark of the divine, that place and space that I call God. I know that I am one with it, that I was created by it in a moment of unconditional love. And just as I know that this is my truth, I know that it is absolutely true for each and every single one of us. And it's from that place of unity that I speak these words for each of us this morning, individually and collectively as the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, collectively as each and every sentient being on the planet. I truly know that the journeys that we make that don't have a destination, that journey to our oneness with the divine, that journey from our head to our hearts, that journey into present moment awareness, they are doable. We can do them. It might feel at times like it's totally impossible, like there's no way we could ever do it. But little by little by little, it becomes ingrained. It becomes the fabric of the context of our life. It becomes the place that we act from, the place that we think from, the place that we speak from, the place that we see out of. And when we do that, everything changes. And so I claim ease and grace for each of us around making these journeys day by day by day, one day at a time. No destination. Remember, it is the journey that counts. It is the becoming that keeps moving us forward, ever and ever closer and closer to our highest and best self. A wonderful life is waiting. Joy is waiting. Freedom is waiting. Unconditional love is right there. And I'm so grateful to know this truth, so grateful to speak these words, so grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes, that my words are clothed in form, even as they are spoken. And so I see in my mind's eye each and every single one of us on these journeys. We're smiling. We're lovingly supporting each other, and all is well. And so I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves, for each other, and for the entire world simply by saying, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. It is now time for our conscious giving. It is at this time every week that we offer financial assistance to assist this community to continue to do what we do in the world, to continue to be a beacon of light and love and warmth on the planet. And what I know about these gifts, however big or small, is that they prosper the one giving, that giving and receiving are one and the same, two sides of the same coin. We can't have one without the other, and that they add to the experience of sufficiency on the planet. And so I'm grateful for these gifts. I'm grateful for each and every single person here this morning, and Sophie's, every single person that has joined us on Zoom, for the tithing of your talent and treasure and time, for just showing up and being here today. There are a few ways that you can give. Visit our website, trianglecsl.org. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button you can click on. Text GIVE to 919-230-8445, or send a check to PO Box 4062, Cary, North Carolina, 27519. So I invite everyone to just have an intention in your heart for yourself or for our community, and repeat after me. I am grateful for all that I receive, and I'm grateful for all that I may give. And so it is. Now please welcome back up to the stage, to her guitar, the amazing, the talented, the beautiful Karen Daly.
Thank you, Dusty. That was awesome. Boy, a lot of things to think about on the drive home today. This is just a really sweet little song by a woman named Casey Chambers. I think she's Australian. It's called This Flower, and it could be gratitude for spirit. It could be gratitude for a good friend. For me, it reminds me a lot of my mom. Well, this flower is my soul. It's not half of what I owe. I should give you every rose that ever grew. Take this one here for a start. You can keep it in your heart. I have everything I need because of you. If my life was long enough to pack up everything I love, I would do just that and give it all to you. But it's impossible to pay all the things you gave away, so this flower I give will have to do. Well, this flower is my soul, but it's not half of what I owe. I should give you every rose it ever grew. But take this one here for a start, and you can keep it in your heart. I have everything I need because of you. All the flowers growing wild for 10,000 lonely miles. It's not near enough to give you what I should. So I will owe you for a while, maybe longer than my time. I would give you all the world if I could. Well, this flower is my soul, but it's not half of what I owe. I should give you every rose it ever grew. Take this one here for a start, and you can keep it in your heart. I have everything I need because of you. I have everything I need because of you. Thank you.
Please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. On the homepage, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. That prayer request will go out to all the ministers and the practitioners, and we will pray for you. If anyone would like to dedicate a flower dedication for any reason, for anyone, for anything, please contact Heather Abbott at info@trianglecsl.org or Reverend Dusty at dustyrippelmeyer@yahoo.com. And join us for a special Thanksgiving Eve concert and Thanksgiving Day meditation. The Leadership Council and I would like to invite you to a virtual concert to express our gratitude to all of you for hanging in there, continuing to support our community with your time, talent, and treasure over the last couple of years. We continue to be a thriving community because of all of you, and we are very grateful. The concert will be on Wednesday evening, November 24th, from 7 to 8:30, showing on both YouTube and Facebook Live. It will feature the amazing trio of Cindy Johnson, Sandy Hemingway, and Amy Steinberg. Please join us as we celebrate and express our gratitude and appreciation to all of you. Then, on Thursday, November 25th, Thanksgiving Day, Reverend Dusty will be hosting a sacred moment of meditation from 10 to 11 on Zoom. She will speak a little bit about the magic of gratitude, facilitate a meditation, open up the Zoom room for others to share what they are grateful about, and give a gratitude prayer to the universe on behalf of all of us, individually and collectively, as the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. Now, in the comfort of your own home, please stand for our November affirmation. This is a call and response. Please say it with meaning and repeat after me. I am a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in a spiritual world.
I am a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in the spiritual world.
My spiritual journey operates according to spiritual laws.
My spiritual journey operates according to spiritual laws.
Each point along my path has been integral in shaping who I am today.
Each point along my path has been integral in shaping who I am today.
There is an exquisiteness and perfection to this divine order.
There is an exquisiteness and perfection to this divine order.
As I turn away from appearances, I see every situation from a place of spiritual truth.
As I turn away from appearances, I see every situation from a place of spiritual truth.
As I lift my eyes to the highest view of life, I see the beauty and feel the grace.
As I lift my eyes to the highest view of life, I see the beauty and feel the grace.
As I do so, my life abounds with love, peace, and joy.
As I do so, my life abounds with love, peace, and joy.
I am grateful for everything I am, everything I do, and everything I have.
I am grateful for everything I am, everything I do, and everything I have.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And now just another moment of reflection. If you would close your eyes one more time. Oh, I recognize just the joy in this moment and the grace. And I know that word grace has come up in this service a number of times. And so I just invite everyone to recognize that grace, that loving spirit, that just infinite peace and joy is with you and for you in every single moment. Just breathe it in and know that that is the truth for you going forward in this moment and for the whole community. And so I'm so thankful that this is the truth for us. And I release these words into the law of love. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you all so very much for joining us, whether you're here at Sophie's or you're online. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a really magnificent week. I love you all madly.